Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Special Board of Selectmen meeting of November 28th at 5 o'clock. I want to thank...
Can you please talk into the microphone?
I will. It's right here. Is that good? All right. How's that? Okay. Thank you. I can't hear what you're not hearing, so, okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Special Board of Selectmen meeting of November 28th at 5 o'clock. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. To briefly recap, the Board of Selectmen have been considering options for the former Country Club of Woodbridge property for many months now. We began by conducting a public opinion survey to ask residents to provide their thoughts, and as proposals have come to us, we have kept the public informed. We previously had a presentation from Brian St. Pierre with InSite Development, and we will hear from them again tonight with a revised proposal. We will also hear a new presentation from Robert Sachs on a proposal he has named Sunrise Hill Estates. Tonight, the questions and answers for the developers will be from the Board of Selectmen only, but we will schedule a public information session at the end of this meeting tonight for the public, so you all can come and ask your questions and get them answered. We will begin with Robert Sachs and his team, and Robert, I ask if you'll introduce everyone for us. Thank you. And speak into the mic, I guess.
Good evening, this is Robert Sachs.
You can take a seat. Sit down, relax.
This is Robert Sachs. I want to introduce Carl Porto, Greg Sachs, and Michael Ott, an engineer in Madison. We are here tonight to give the town a couple options on the former Woodbridge Country Club. We spent some time, some effort. You're looking at 2-3 various proposals, layouts of the site, and we've talked back and forth with the town of a project or projects we have done in the past. We've currently completing a project in Orange called Fieldstone Village. It's 142 55 and older homes. Right now we're at the tail end of the project. Pretty successful project. I think everyone who's living there is pretty happy. The town has been pretty happy with the project as well. So without further ado, I just want to let Carl go ahead and introduce the beginning part of it.
Thank you.
Please talk into the microphone.
All right, this won't be a problem for me. Good evening. As Robert said, my name is Carl Porto. I practice in Hamden with Prep Porto and Precinct Caldwell. I'm going to speak to you a little bit tonight about what we're proposing. By way of background, I have been Robert's attorney with respect to the Sunrise Hill Fieldstone Village project out in Orange, which we got undergoing just about a decade ago. As everyone will recall, the economy was not quite as robust as it was then, but we are on the tail end of the project, and I think it has been a very good project. Really been a success, and it in large way is going to be similar to what we're proposing here. And I brought with us tonight a few slides to just introduce you to what we're tentatively calling Woodbridge Estates. We're proposing a 125 unit age restricted project that will be very similar to Fieldstone. And just briefly here, this is, and I'm going to come back to this in a minute and talk a little bit more about it, but this is the golf course track, as everyone is well aware, and we're talking about taking about 54 acres more or less and putting our project in this vicinity. This has 2 points of access here and here. We've got a second proposal that is the same general outline with a terminating cul-de-sac with emergency fire access, which is really the only difference between these two proposals. And then we've got a third proposal, which again I'm going to come back to in a minute, but just to familiarize yourself, this runs, I would call, more vertically. Our engineer, Michael Ott, is going to speak a little bit more about the technical side and the pros and cons of the various concepts. In terms of what we expect the project to look like, we expect this to be a very upscale project, again, consistent with our Fieldstone project, and I brought with me a couple pictures tonight. This is sort of our beginning entrance. Some people may have been to our project. This is the main entranceway. We envisioned a very similar entrance here. Again, a lot of stone work, a lot of trees, a lot of landscaping. This is sort of a step-back view of how the entrance works there. Again, we would anticipate, topographic conditions aside, providing a largely similar feel on the entrance. This is a typical building within our project. Actually, it's the clubhouse building, but it's a typical style. We anticipate a clubhouse facility within this project as well, with amenities that you typically find. This has a bocce court, a putting green, it has a pool, and again, we would expect a similar thing to be built here. This is obviously an exterior view during the warmer weather months. You can notice there's some brickwork here, a lot of architectural detail along the roof line. This is our typical streetscape. Buildings that we may design here may be similar or different, but will be all detached. Some people who have been to the Fieldstone project may have known that we have some duplexes and triplexes. We anticipate 100% detached units here. We're also anticipating spreading out our project a bit more here. We have a little bit more of a land to work with. These typically enjoy about a 10-foot side yard setback. We're going to double that here. We expect it to be somewhat more generous. But again, just to give you a scope and scale of how these houses look, this is a standard detached, and this would be similar in style. This is a 2-car garage style. We anticipate, while this will be a condominium project and we will control development, of course, all of our exteriors will be uniform in nature, but subject to customization. Our interiors are typically subject to a lot of customization, depending on what people want in terms of both size of the units, range of appliances, amenities, and fit outs. This is a different style. You notice we have a porch area here, which has been somewhat popular. Again, grass, trees, and plantings. This is a more step back version, and these are all sort of the same. Just give you a feel for it. This is our inside of one of our units. As you can see, granite counters, and this is typically what we have built there. Generous crown work on the roof line or the ceiling line, vaulted ceilings, fireplace, TV above, hardwood floors. This gives you a general sense of what the interiors of the units at Sunrise look like. And again, we really anticipate a similar situation here. And these are just some random views of various people's houses that we finished them. And these are just some floor plans which were in there from last time. In terms of our overall site, what we anticipate, I'm not sure how to get back to having this full screen, but what we anticipate here is a project that's got a clubhouse up in the beginning corner here. This runs, as Mr. Ott will tell you, very, very much with the topography of the land. This fits in very well with what's going on. It stays away from a wetlands course, which is in here in a pond, and provides a very nice flow in terms of the overall topographic condition. We also anticipate, based on some of the town's requirements, we will, if need be, demo your existing clubhouse that's out there as part of our overall project. And we understand the town is also interested in having a community pool installed, which we are also prepared to provide. So in addition to our project here, we'll be doing some off-site work. In terms of the condominium project as a whole, and I know the town doesn't have a whole lot of condominiums, we anticipate this being an age-restricted project, which will attract a very nice clientele as it's done in Orange. As everyone is probably aware, the condominium association will be responsible for all of its own on-site maintenance, plowing the snow, the cutting of the grass, the maintenance of the open space, which, as you'll know, will be quite generous in this plan. This is all going to be green area here as well as here. There's a nice natural buffering that already exists that's not going to be disturbed. The condominium association takes care of all that 100% on its own. There's no town services that are required. We anticipate a broad range of units. As I indicated, we're very flexible in terms of what people want. We'll have different size square footage houses as we do at Sunrise. We anticipate, thank you, we anticipate starting in the mid 400,000 range and then moving up as people want both size, scope, and scale in their homes. Of course, subject to final development, but we anticipate if we end up with around 125 units based on our experience in the town's current tax mill rate, we envision a net tax increase to the town of about $2 million annually. in real estate taxes. Maybe a little bit more depending on how the exact numbers fall out. But we see this as a net gain of about $2 million in real estate taxes to the town, with really very little corresponding expense. I mean, obviously we'll enjoy fire services, but we don't expect anything that the town will have to really expend unique to our project. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ott in just a second, but just in terms of overall layouts, we think this works the best from an engineering perspective. This has the least cut and fills, the least blasting, and provides for really a very nice flow, given the existing topography of the golf course complex, and then leaving the balance of about 100 acres or so for town use. There are a number of trails and car paths that already work through the site. We're going to try and retain a lot of that in this concept. The roadway actually runs right down a couple of the fairways, so we hope to keep a number of the existing topographic conditions, and this will continue to be a very walkable community. Our Sunrise project is very walkable, and we expect this to follow suit. The secondary plan which we have provided, as you can see, runs in a more of a vertical orientation to the road system. While this would be buildable, we think it suffers from a number of problems that Mr. Ott will speak a little bit more about. You notice that we bifurcate, in order to make the project work, we bifurcate the green space. It's not as generous. Also, the housing, you end up with some odd corners here, which isn't as pleasing both aesthetically and from a building perspective. Additionally, the topography runs up and down. This is going to require a lot more cutting and filling. There'll be uneven sides to some of the homes. The clubhouse is located basically the same way. We do have an exit over here versus on this side of the project. The main entrance is really the same in both. But this project we find also comes very close to the wetlands here. We're actually invading a pond. We think ultimately this is going to be somewhat problematic from a wetlands development perspective, whereas our other project pulls us away from that problem, stays clear of that. There's also a fair amount of ledge and topography issues over here, and as we get into the vertical version, we're starting to encroach on that. We anticipate having to blast perhaps in order to make this work. So for a number of reasons, we don't favor this project. We don't think it ultimately flows as well. It doesn't use the natural topography of the land as it currently exists. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ott, and then I'll come back to answer any questions that you might have for me from an overall perspective. Mike.
Thanks, Carl. Good evening. Hopefully you can hear me. Just for your record, again, my name is Mike Ott. I'm a licensed professional engineer with Summerhill Civil Engineers in Madison. Carl has really touched on a lot of what I wanted to talk about, and I'm not sure if I'm going to press the right button here, but yeah. Let me go back one more. Okay. So just to orient you a little bit, and of course you all know this, but this is Ansonia Road here, and this is Johnson Road on the west side of the site, and Woodfield Road runs from Ansonia Road, or I think it might be called Fountain Street if I understand it right at this point, down along the eastern side of the parcel, and then along the southern side of the parcel where it intersects Johnson Road again. The entire Woodbridge Country Club property boundary is not shown here, but you can see it bounded by all those roads and the actual the physical golf course. We think, again, Carl, I think Attorney Porto touched on a lot of the reasons, all the reasons actually, why we think this is a better option for the development. I'll just give you the kind of the boring engineering construction reasons. This road layout, I went out to the site and walked it. I spent a couple hours out there this past Sunday actually, when it was very nice out, and there were a half a dozen or so other people actually walking the site when I was there. The way these roads are laid out, they follow they run up the fairways, so that the homes, the dwellings on both sides are about at both sides of the roads are about at the same elevation. So if we can build the roads very close to the existing grades of the fairway, we can build the homes on both sides without having a lot of cut and fill, if you are familiar with that term. In the other option along the eastern side of the property, we don't have the ability to do that for the majority of the road length, and the roads run in a manner that we would have to excavate on one side and fill on the other side in order to level out the house sites in relation to the road. So the option concept plan C on the eastern side of the project, the one that Carl had described as more vertical, it runs runs more north-south. That, just based on walking the site and looking at the topography and looking at some available state information on topography for the site, that we feel that this would be more disruptive. It would take more earthwork to construct it and be more disruptive. There is also, in walking the site, there is and I'm sure you all are aware of this, there is somewhere in this area here, there is what looks like a vault that I assume is part of the well system, I'm guessing, for the irrigation system for the golf course. And there's a connection out to Ansonia Road from that vault. I don't know anything about it yet, but I know that it's been marked out. Somebody must have had it marked out recently, and the Regional Water Authority has got it marked out going out to Ansonia Road. So we tried to stay away from that. There's also from that little pond, and I'm not sure if I'm pointing it's generally in that area, but from that pond there is a water course that flows north and leaves the site. It crosses Ansonia Road and goes out to Rimmon Road, and we need obviously to stay away from that also. So I'll try to go backwards here. In this layout, we were able to stay away from that water course, stay away from that pond, give it its proper buffer that your land use boards and commissions will likely require, and present a development that works, we believe, works best with the topography and would be the least disruptive during construction. This blue asterisk right here is the area that we would use for stormwater management, and it works given the way the roads would lay out and the grades there. We will of course have to handle stormwater, as a result of this development. The green asterisk here is what I believe would be the sanitary sewer connection. I believe you have a short gravity sanitary sewer from that connects to a pump station down here along Race Brook, I think it's called. So that would be where we would make our sanitary sewer connection. And this yellow asterisk just denotes the highest part of the country club parcel. So all of those that road network climbs up to the highest part of the parcel, provides, I think from my walk last Sunday, great views, provides, as Attorney Porto said, a lot of open space here in between the units. A lot of the golf cart paths can be reworked, resurfaced, and used as walking and running, multi-use trails, and they can be supplemented and make new connections as part of the development. So those are the reasons why we think this is a preferred location for the site. The concept plan C works. It's constructible. It gives us the unit yield that we've talked about, but we think it's a bit more it'll be a bit more disruptive development to construct. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have, or I can turn this back over to Attorney Porto.
I'm not sure who would be able to answer the question, but yeah, I do have a couple. In the Fieldstone property, what's the current acreage?
I'm gonna
Okay.
turn that back over.
The Fieldstone property right currently is 48 acres, the whole project. The condo portion is about 38 or 39 acres,
And how many units are in that?
142.
How many buildings?
Quick math. 1133. Probably about, without doing the math, about 120.
As far as the construction and things of that nature on that project, I know you said it's a project that had been going on for about a decade. When did it start? How long did it take for the construction period, and what was the pace of sale?
Our model opened in November 2009, and we will be sold out this year. So 9 years. The first year we were in the heart of the recession, so I think we sold 2 units in 09 and 3 or 4 in 010. So the first couple of years were tough, but then the absorption kicked up after that point.
Are these going to be pre-sold units, or are they going to be put up for spec?
The way we did Fieldstone is we built a model and then 2 or 3 spec homes, and that would be the same concept that we do here. We have 1 or 2 spec homes for a quick delivery home, but all the homes will be customized.
How long do you expect it'll take to complete this project?
It's all based on the absorption and economy. We feel that it's somewhere between 12 and 18 units a year. If the economy is good, you can sell up to 24. It's the absorption that controls it.
Okay. I have a question for the engineer. Do you have information yet on the, I don't know whether you call it the structure, the topography, but the physical structure of the soil and the granite and the water table in that area?
No testing, of course, but I did look at published information, and that's what a normal thing we would do in a planning phase like this. And the soils are, I can't remember what type the soils they are, but they're all identified as having a compact soil layer. It's all glacial till. That's a drumlin if you remember your geology. And it's all glacial till. And our National Resource Conservation Service identifies that area as all glacial till with a compact soil layer 2 feet to 3 feet below the ground surface. And a relatively shallow water table. That's what I know about it. I don't know anything about the superficial geology, how deep to bedrock. We know that there's exposed rock, some, on the eastern side of the site. Another reason we want, and I did mention that we like to stay away from that area.
Could you go back to the other configuration, please? Yeah, so the green space in between the road and Ansonia Road, it looks like that's about where the 16th fairway, I think it was the 16th fairway, that par 5 that runs up the road. So there's a lot of pine trees in that area.
Yes.
Are those going to remain?
I tried the bed. I don't know. I'll go to the microphone. I'm not sure you can hear me, but I tried, and I didn't mention this. I tried to keep the development as far away from the roads as I could, and I tried to lay the roads out. If you follow the fairways, as much as you can, you're away from the trees. It's hard on the aerial photograph to tell. So that's an ortho photo of the site from 2016, and it's the scale. And that's how I laid this out, because we don't have a survey, of course. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to tell in that ortho photo where the actual trunk of the tree is, but I tried, if you were to look closely, I tried to lay the road out as close as I could to the center of the fairway to save as many trees as we could. There are places where we have to cross through the trees, there might be places where we might be, a building might be a little too close to a tree, but the idea of, going back to the idea of following the topography and minimizing the earthwork, the cuts and the fills, that puts us in the best position to save as many trees as we can. And we left, you can see I left that fairway, whatever number it is, alone to provide a buffer from Ansonia Road.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me, and there's pines that run on either side of that. So
Right.
I was wondering if the contemplation anyway was to leave that buffer area.
Best we can, and so on that plan, there's no, other than the entrances, there's no development any closer than 100 feet from what I believe is actually the property boundaries.
So on the west side there,
That's
on Johnson Road, that's 100 feet to the first.
correct. Yes. Same thing with the clubhouse parking area. That's a good 100 feet, not from the road. It's actually more than 100 feet from the road. 100 feet from what would be the state highway line. There.
Could we have a little more information on your plans for the pool and the clubhouse?
Would you please talk into the microphone? You are 3 feet away from a microphone. There's no point in having a microphone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
You gotta talk about it.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah, okay. Can you give us some more details about your plans for the pool and the clubhouse?
Are you speaking about the proposed clubhouse or the existing clubhouse?
No,
The existing clubhouse.
It was our understanding that the town wanted to have the existing clubhouse demolished. Part of our proposal is to demolish that clubhouse. We certainly don't have to. That was an option that was presented to the town, and we said we would do that.
At whose expense?
At our expense,
And the pool?
So in addition to the purchase price?
in addition to the
At your
purchase, right?
expense.
And the pool?
And there's some, and we would take the pool out as well, and then propose a new pool for the town at our expense. Some reasonable size pool, a mutually agreeable pool.
Okay. Thank you.
So that'll be added to what's outlined on here so far.
Correct, and it should be in that proposal.
I didn't see it.
I didn't see it.
I didn't. But that's okay.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
as long as we know that,
Anybody have
From
any
a-
other questions?
just from a construction standpoint, for the people who are nearby, how do you logistically arrange for that? What could be the expectation of people who are in that area?
We would try to keep the main traffic off Ansonia Road, so that would be our construction entrance, all right? And then we would try to build a project around to keep the finished homes on one side and the construction going out left side. So we would take the clubhouse, of course, that would be built first with, with the model park, and then go to the west side, build those homes first, allowing the access to Ansonia Road for construction. And with this proposal, why it is a big project, and you do have a lot of earthwork, it's minimal in compared to the other two.
The other two options?
Yeah.
that may be too preliminary, but have you looked at any traffic implications or studies with this amount of units? And
We of course haven't, engaged a traffic engineer, we
Right.
would. What I did look at, though, is what we call intersection sight distance, to make sure that the two entrances, that there be clear lines of sights in both directions for people pulling out and people traveling on the road seeing someone at those entrances. And the one on Johnson Road is great, doesn't require any work. The one on Ansonia Road, looking west, if you were leaving, looking west, is going to require some brush within the state highway right away, some vegetation removal and maybe a little bit of sloping back the shoulder. But other than that, no, we that's something we, of course, would have to do.
yeah, I'm just saying because it's age restricted of course, on the low end, 55, that's one thing, but I guess my point is, theoretically, a large percentage, once it's finished, may be retired. So they're not all gonna rush out at the same. I'm just trying to get a feel of what your experience is over there.
Exactly right. What I'd like you to welcome the board to is come see Fieldstone Village on any hour, not 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. 130 people living in the project right now, and you can literally be there for 2-3 minutes without seeing a car. This isn't your typical, 4-bedroom subdivision where you have 2 kids and the mom's or dad's bringing the kid to school 2-3 times and then going to work and then picking them up and then leaving. So your trips per home is maybe once a day they go out for coffee, or maybe one person works. So your trips per home is really minimal, and you don't see the type of traffic you would in a normal subdivision.
And these are single owner detached, did I understand that correctly?
All detached homes.
If I could, just to add, I didn't quite get your question, but just to add to what Robert just said about traffic, we have another similar sized project in the planning and design phase, and we have a traffic engineer engaged, and he has confirmed that these types of developments, just like Robert said, don't generate a high amount of traffic. He's actually completed this study.
Has he completed that study?
He has, yes.
Could you share that with us?
I'm sure
Not
we could.
today,
If
before
you're not
sure.
giving away, I mean, I know it's not this one, but
No, of
it
course,
would be
right, of course we
interesting
can, sure.
to see what that, yeah.
Well, you should go see it in real life. We can give you the study, but I think it would be important for you to literally drive there and see it in real life.
I have to ask, related to A and B versus C, because I was the one I asked you to do C, because I'm concerned about the residents in Johnson, Ansonia, Woodfield. And my thought is that if we could move it in the way that you did for number C, there's minimal, impact to the residents on those 3 roads. So could you speak a little bit about, again, you mentioned more disruption, and is that disruption related to construction, not necessarily to the residents? Because it seems to me A and B, is more disruptive to the residents, so.
Construction.
Construction,
Yes,
sorry,
ma'am.
yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Okay,
it's 2 things. It's 1, construction, but 2, on the finished product. The key to these homes is not having any steps going into the homes. All right. Right now, these houses lay out on the fairway, so the houses on each side are relatively level. On that second option, you have a slope on one side and a hill on the other side. So you have stairs going up on one side and stairs going down on the other. So certainly buildable, but at the end of the day, is it sellable or desirable? That's another point. We could look at other options about having a second entranceway down, so you don't have it off of Johnson Road. But I have to tell you, from a traffic impact, you have to visually see one of these projects to see how little traffic they generate.
I know I'm thinking more in terms of the residents looking at them, There's no one really on Woodfield, really. There's maybe a couple houses, but.
So it'd be a longer entrance, but could you sneak one into that elbow? The south elbow there
A little bit of the problem with that is that having zoned these a number of times, police and fire are always very concerned about swings, getting the trucks in and out, and having good access in the event that there was a fire, God forbid a tree came down. We've had these rash of storms lately. This really provides a very workable swing. Traffic and police and fire are always going to comment on these. This proposal, everything is a lot tighter. It doesn't work. It doesn't flow as well. I don't think it was an issue. I don't know if it's not that we can't build it, but this ultimately doesn't work as well. I think if we ended up with just one entrance over here and an entrance here, you leave a lot. You got a big run here, because this would ultimately have to be reworked. And again, I'm not going to speak for your fire chief, but this historically is not as well liked by the fire and safety guys and gals. They like it on both sides. It provides a greater access. The difference between the 2 proposals is here, this one terminates out, and then this one, it culminates at a cul-de-sac with an emergency fire route, which is actually very similar to our Fieldstone project. Running it this way and out here, we can see fire is okay with that, but you're leaving a lot of units with no ability to get out other than here. So that becomes a consideration. And as Robert said, this project, in addition to, I think, having some serious zoning problems, I mean, ultimately, Wetlands Commission is going to, and P&Z is going to have to prove this. This runs right through a culvert in a wetlands area. I see this as having real challenges from a legal zoning perspective. I don't see this as being well received by your Wetlands Commission if they have any regards for their wetlands. In addition to the cuts and fills and vehicular traffic and maybe some blasting, we're gonna have more truck traffic putting this thing together. And as Robert said, one of the hallmarks, and I've done a number of age restricted projects in multiple towns, no one in these projects wants steps. You know, they're typically elderly people. They want them flat as a pancake. They want the one step coming out of the garage. This is going to have steps.
That's a crown. It goes down on all four sides.
Yeah. So
But
this just isn't going to. This isn't just going to build as well. It's just not going to be overall as desirable. I understand it pulls it away from the neighbors on here and here, and it runs it down this road. And I certainly understand that. But at the end of the day, you know, this is a large-scale project that, you know, everyone's going to make an enormous investment in. We just can't build it because it seemed the better because of a couple neighbors on the sides. And I'm giving due regard to everybody. I certainly appreciate that people live here. But, you know, once this project is done and it's screened in, and we put some screening here, we've got some trees already. You've got most of the property off of the property lines. You've got some here, but you've only got a terminus of a cul-de-sac, and you've got one run here. And as Mr. Ida indicated, you're 100 feet from the property line here. Back here, you're probably 600 feet from here to the property line, and then you got people across the street. So this isn't on top of anybody's house, but I certainly understand the issue. But we think on a lot of levels this is going to flow a lot better. Hey,
So is there any way to slide that southeast corner?
This one?
Slide it, no, that's west.
That's west down here?
Southeast, yes. Is there any way to slide the whole thing and then have an entrance out to Woodfield, or?
We could.
I know you don't like it,
We
but I'm
could
just,
certainly.
something to look at.
We could
maybe,
certainly look
just
at
as an option.
We could certainly look that for you. I mean,
It's certainly all preliminary, but it generally works, you know, best here. But listen, it's subject to ultimately surveying and mapping it, you know, where the trees are. I mean, you know, Mr. Rod has done what he could over the last couple of days to give us, you know, something to look at. There's a long way to go between here and where the final project is going to rest.
You start to come up the hill more if you do that, but take a look at it.
maybe not just way out that way. And what this does do for you as well, about 70 acres of the country club remain undisturbed this way.
Right,
So the town gets to keep the majority of it, and it's not in the state.
right.
But we're sensitive to your other issues. But, you know, and I mean, it's early, but this is the conceptual plan that, you know, trying to present you guys with what we understood of the site early on as we could. Any other questions for any of us?
In your other projects, has it been similar in the sense of a portion of a property that the rest of the property was left as is, or something along those lines? I don't think that's the case at Fieldstone.
It is. About, if you drive around 34 in Grassy Hill Road, you see that whole left corner was left open as a, and that was existing wetlands. We opened up to the balance of the wetlands, so it's probably 10 acres or so up there, and a little bit on the upper side of Grassy Hill Road. So there was a lot of open space. This is far superior from that position.
Question,
Not at this point, after we take a chance to.
Joe? Questions?
Are we gonna go over option two?
The assisted
Well-
living, the assisted,
Oh, the one with the assisted,
Yeah?
Yeah, we.
You will if you want to, sure.
Basically, option 2 is 100 units instead of 125 units.
It was hard to see on our map.
And see,
in the-
we don't have.
So light.
I don't know if Mike, you
Couldn't
have a
see
set
it.
of plans.
Yeah.
We did not
But
include.
Oh, okay.
we have
So
3 or
A and
4.
B are the same?
ambient. So we have, on the assisted living, we have 3 or 4 acres designated right here to put a 100-bed assisted living home and shorten this project up, remove 25 units from the upper side. So all the traffic would leave off of Woodruff Road on this side. And that's really the only difference in the 2 projects.
But isn't there an extra $250,000?
We're not
Correct.
We're not gonna
No
talk
money.
about
price.
No, no money right now, but,
I'm just talking about what's before.
No,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's still,
so 25 units come out of that picture.
That,
And the entrance on Johnson is no longer there?
we could eliminate
Or-
the Johnson, we could eliminate these end units and put a cul-de-sac in there.
Those okay, and then come out that way.
Come out
Take the
that
assisted.
by that side. Or potentially, as you talked about before, maybe an access road connecting the 2
Mhm.
parcels and with a road going by the assisted living care. That might be an option, and we can try to work that out engineering wise.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll give you mine. Okay, now I'd like to introduce Brian St. Pierre and invite Brian to come up with his people and introduce them to us, please.
Just 1 second, set up.
Take your time, it's okay. Here's another sunrise. Yeah, here's sunrise. The one that Robert was good. We blew it up. Otherwise it blew off the paper. We missed some of it. Good thing you hung around. Thank you. And if you kindly introduce everyone from your team, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
So, hello again, everybody. Welcome back. Good to be back in front of you guys again. As you all know, I'm Brian St. Pierre. I'm the owner of InSite Development. Sitting to my left here is Phil DeGennaro. He is the owner of Sound Development out of Trumbull. And I'll let Phil introduce himself in a second, but obviously we've been in front of the board already to present our original offer, which included basically a golf course, the 18-hole golf course, and the 55 and older community. We've since revised the proposal to eliminate the golf course and make a 90-plus acre town park in conjunction with the town to keep it as open space and do the 55 and older community. So I'll let Phil really quickly introduce himself because I don't think you guys have met him yet. I know a couple board members have, but I'll turn it over to Phil.
Sure. Hi. Thanks. For the record, it's Phil DeGennaro. I'm the managing member of Sound Development Group. We are a real estate development company based in Trumbull, Connecticut. We've been in existence for almost 30 years. We focus on commercial properties and dense residential projects, include those in our commercial portfolio. We've done a number of projects in the area that you may or may not be familiar with. We did the first age-restricted housing complex in the town of Trumbull. We've since then done 4 other projects in Trumbull and Monroe. We are involved and have completed work for Yale New Haven Health, both in the hospital side of things as well as their extended care. And we're a full-service development company. I'm happy to answer any questions about what we do.
Yeah, so we'll get into the proposal and the revisions that we have, and then we can obviously take the questions, but go ahead, Justin. So obviously we're talking about the existing country club property of roughly 150 acres. It's currently, as of last month or a couple weeks ago, completely unused at this point. The golf course was shut down, I believe, 2 years ago, and as of 2 weeks ago, I believe that the pool is going to be shut down also for the upcoming year. Basically, I think we can all agree that the best and final use for this piece of property is a 55 and older community, based on the demographics of Woodbridge. A mixture of open space and 55 and older is definitely the way to go. As you can see by the graphic on the bottom, roughly 54% of the Woodbridge population is over the age of 45, and this was back in 2016. So it just lends itself to a 55 and older community, and is definitely the best and final use for this project. So our proposal is roughly 60 acres, 55 to 60 acres of the existing property, and we plan to build 120 55 and older homes that will be sold or marketed in the high 4s. And as mentioned in the previous proposal, obviously all these homes are customizable, and you know, the price will grow accordingly. Within that, we are offering $5.3 million to the. Oh, I'm sorry. In that we have a new clubhouse for the residents of what we're calling Wood Valley Estates, which includes tennis courts, fitness centers, a meeting room, and a small pool. In addition, we are planning to demolish the existing clubhouse, the golf clubhouse, and build a new pool house and renovate the existing pool for town use. That's one of our, our main selling features here is that we would definitely want to keep some sort of town interaction with this piece of property. I mean, heck, we own it anyway. As a resident of Woodbridge, I would definitely love to use it and have my family use it also. In addition, we will have, like I said, 90 plus acres will be converted to public park, and that will be equipped with, hopefully fishing ponds and little picnic areas and things that the whole town can enjoy. So here's our proposal of the property is obviously located on the west side of the existing golf course. East. I'm sorry, east side. The original plan for this development to be over there was to be in conjunction with the golf course like we originally planned. Since the golf course has been eliminated from our proposal, we've had the ability to one, take a little bit more land because we're taking the clubhouse also, and we were able to shift the development to the west as much as we could. There's still going to be definite cut and fill, as the last proposal had said. This is definitely not the easy way out. This is what we considered the least impact on the neighborhood, least impact on the property from a visual standpoint. And obviously, we can go back and build houses anywhere on 150 acres, but this to us feels like, even though it is more of a challenge, this to us feels like it's the right spot for this development. So the homes are similar to most 55 and older communities that you'll see in the area and across the country. Mainly one floor, single family homes, detached, as the last proposal had said. All these homes will be consistent with the style of the neighborhood. As an architect, it's very important to me to maintain the style of the town, and we would just definitely maintain the feel of the neighborhood. All these homes, you want to go back, Justin? All these homes will be energy efficient, and obviously through the condo and HOA maintenance free, meaning lawns will be taken care of, driveways, and similar to the last proposal, obviously we'll be relying on police and fire. And I have more options for you, but I do have some basic floor plans that we have of what the units would be themselves, and a list of standard features that we can go through. But as with every custom home that I've built in the last 15 years, it'll be hardwood floors, the granite countertops, a high-end luxury feel throughout the whole home, and that includes crown moldings and things of that nature.
Square foot?
Square footage is that they will range between 2,000 and 2,300 square feet, depending on which floor plan you pick. And then there will also be another option to add a loft or a second floor bedroom office in some of these units, which will grow it even more. I mean, that's the larger home. We'll roughly get to 2,600 square feet.
I'm sorry, Brian, you said between 2,000 and what?
And 2,300.
2,300.
Yeah, so the two bedroom is roughly 2,000 square feet, and then when you start adding the third den, a 2-bedroom plus a den or plus an office, that's when we'll get into that 2,300 range. And then, like I said, adding the second floor, we'll get it into the 2,500 range. But we don't anticipate too many having a second floor. Within this community, obviously we need a clubhouse for the 55 and older development. That's an example of a clubhouse that we would build. It would be equipped with meeting spaces, fitness room, which was age appropriate equipment, tennis and pickleball courts on the existing tennis courts that are there now, and then obviously walking paths that lead through the community and hopefully tie into this new town park that we'll have. So as I mentioned, our proposal is to demolish the existing clubhouse. I walked through it about a month ago, and it looked a lot different than it did 2 years ago when I walked through it. It is, it's beyond repair, and it really does need to be taken down at this point. So in its place, we definitely want to put back, you know, a smaller pool house that has changing rooms, you know, bathrooms with showers, and some locker rooms that the members of the pool could use as their locker. It would be completely, you know, open to the public, similar to what we have now in terms of a membership, a yearly membership. But yeah, just
So would that be,
go ahead.
so there wouldn't be a separate pool for the 55?
There would.
So this is in addition?
This is in addition. This is strictly for the public use. This is where the existing pool is now. We'll do the.
And this is on your dime?
This is on our dime, correct.
Maintenance ongoing as well, Brian?
I'm sorry?
The maintenance of the pool ongoing as well?
Correct. That would be part of our, you know, the pool house and the pool would be part of our responsibility.
And
Through the HOA?
Not through the HOA. It would basically be through the membership of the pool.
I see.
And
So you would
kind of
run that pool?
we would run
The
that.
contemplation is you would run that pool?
Correct. That's the original
You
plan.
would
Again, working with the town, we can work out some arrangement if they would like to have the town pool under their roof, then great. I mean, that's, but it's our dime to renovate the pool and put up the pool house. So what does it all boil down to? Obviously, you know, it's relieving the town of its debt on the property at this moment. Based off the current mill rate of 39.83, it would generate about $1.67 million in new taxes, similar to the other proposal. There's approximately, you know, $500,000 in building permits and fees that would also go to the town for this project. Another benefit, like we said, we'd be demolishing the clubhouse on our expense. And then lastly, it satisfies the need that we all know this town has for the 55 and older community, and more importantly, no impact on the school system or on our DOT. And for the one that hits home here is what's in it for the residents. I mean, we obviously have to come out and vote on this and figure out what we want to do with this property also. So the resident benefits are: one, we get our public pool back and a new pool house to use. Two, we'll have 90 acres of public park and walking trails. Like I said, hopefully there's fishing ponds on the big lake down there.
So that's on your dime too?
The park is not on our dime, no. But we would love to work with the town in conjunction to
Separate deal.
Separate deal. Separate deal to make it come true. I mean, obviously it's a protection on our investment also. I mean, having a beautiful park next to our complex, so we'd be more than willing to work with the town to try and make that happen. So yeah, obviously the public park, and then we'd also have, you know, a stabilization in our taxes. I mean, obviously we're putting out a lot of money right now for this piece of property, and it's just, you know, one, the profit that, or the income that we're generating from the sale of the land, and also the additional taxes, you know, hopefully it stabilizes our taxes here in Woodbridge. And obviously, more than anything else, improved property conditions. I mean, obviously with something's going to happen with this property, so, you know, cleaning it up and getting grasses cut and making it look good again is top priority. So with that, I'll leave it open for questions. Again, I just wanted to revisit, you know, the revised proposal. I was in front of you last time, and I just want to update you on where we stand.
So, I'll go ahead.
I was actually going to, Phil, if you could tell us a little about, you mentioned 4 projects that you've done in Trumbull and Monroe.
Yeah, among others.
And if you could just kind of give us a little detail and insight into that, that would be helpful.
Sure. We did the Village of Twin Brooks in Trumbull, Connecticut. It was a 50-unit age-restricted project. I believe it was the first age-restricted project in the town of Trumbull. We helped write the regulations. We did Woodland Hills, also in Trumbull. It was 60 units. Attached with Tree Farm, that was 30 units. We've done several hundred units of student housing for Sacred Heart University, for UConn, for Southern Connecticut. We're not recommending that here, but just to give you a flavor for our background. We have also done extensive development on the medical side. We built a cancer hospital for Yale New Haven Health. And we do retail development as well. We do shopping centers. This to us is an attractive project. We think the economics of it makes sense. We think there's a need in this community and in the area for this type of product. And we love the location. So when Brian and I discussed it, you know, it fit all the parameters that we look at as an investment. Oh, I forgot one more. We did 202 units in the town of Trumbull as well, but it was high-rise, like 4-story apartments, which are currently under construction on the site of a former Canon copy office building.
Which of those would you say are closest to what we're
Probably
proposing?
the single-family units that we did in Trumbull, the attached with Tree Farm, Woodland Hills, and Village of Twin Brooks.
So if we go back to that site map where you're gonna put, where you propose to put the development. Yeah. I don't know for sure, but my impression has always been that that's pretty much ledge.
Yeah, so
You guys have a handle
we've
on
moved it off. I mean, Joe, you're obviously familiar with the property. This project now starts in the first fairway. So it starts in the first fairway and
On
goes.
the west side is on the first, down on the first fairway.
The east side.
East
The east side is on. So the east side here, Joe, is the first fairway.
Oh.
And this, but I apologize. This pond was never moved. I apologize. But in this new proposal, we were able to shift the whole development up the hill, so to speak. So
Okay.
if you're familiar, so this is basically the first fairway. This
Brian,
street here.
I'm sorry, Brian, would you mind doing it here?
Yeah, sure.
No, that's interesting.
Sorry, I might block it, but. So, as I mentioned, in our original proposal, yes, we were going to put it basically on the rock, and there was going to be a lot of disturbance in the land. Now that we're taking a little bit more acreage due to the clubhouse, we were able to shift the whole development to the west.
So that pond.
So this pond, disregard this pond. I apologize. This is a drawing error. It was never taken out of the last one.
So where would the first pond be?
The first pond is basically back in this area somewhere right here.
Okay.
So there is, and again, we heard in the last proposal, you know, the wetlands issue. Yes, obviously everything is subject to a survey.
But the point is, whether it gets approved or not, you've slid it off the rock.
We've slid it off the rock.
West, and it's sitting down in the. Okay.
Yeah, so basically first fairway, and when you're familiar with the property, you know the second green is about up in here. This like was discussed before is the highest part of the there's kind of a ridge that runs you know in here somewhere. So this is the highest part, keeping it from going down the hill. Everything is from the ridge line to the east.
In terms of one of the other items we heard with the last proposal is the desire for the over 55 to usually be more flat.
Correct.
Now, how much of that is impacted in terms of what you're doing here?
Yeah, I 100% agree with the last proposal, and there's no doubt this is not the easy way out. This is keeping it as far east as we can, and there will be a lot of cutting and filling. We're hoping to avoid any blasting. We're hoping we can do things with machines. With the ledge that's there that we might need to take out. But again, until we get soil samples and topographies and geological reports, that's really hard to.
Do you anticipate the streetscape design to be that of
We do. Yes and no. I mean, obviously we're going to need to flatten them out as much as we can. But to me, the charm of this property is the rolling hills. I mean, the idea that keeping a somewhat rolling hill community would be nice.
Well, it slopes up, then once you get to the middle, then it's
I was going to say,
pretty much the
so
same.
from the tennis courts, basically halfway down the community, it's all pretty flat, you know, up in there.
Then it goes down. What that means to building, I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, it's a matter of like the last proposal, you know, cutting and filling, and there's definitely more work. But again, listen, we could have put it on the lowlands, and it could have been the easy way out. But you know, this to me as a resident of Woodbridge, I would love to see it here and not anywhere else on the property.
So one of the attractive features of your original proposal was keeping the golf course.
Correct.
And that's out the window now.
With a heavy heart, Dave. A heavy heart.
So now you're proposing a public park. Now, in order to keep a public park looking nice, you need irrigation, which was one of the sticking points on why the golf course was closed in the first place, because there was a fear that the irrigation system was on its last legs. So have you thought about that?
I haven't.
Mhm.
You know, that's I would assume that was part of the town's responsibility. You know, in terms of either getting that up and running. We have not talked about it. I have not, to be honest with you, I haven't even approached the town park part of this yet.
Is your building plan going to be similar to the other folks where you spec out a few and?
Sure. Our plan is similar to the other. We'll build obviously the clubhouse first, and then we plan to do anywhere between 5 and 10 model homes, and then go from there.
Mhm.
Obviously, we're going to try and build as many as we possibly can, on our own dime before they're sold. But yeah, absolutely. But 5 to 10 is probably the range that we'll start with.
And your total number now is what?
120.
120.
Brian, could you address how many feet between each building?
Sure.
Because it's not clear, obviously.
Yeah, so I do have it on this map here, and I think it's on the corner of that proposal too. We're roughly 25 feet between each building. If you average it out, it's somewhere around a quarter acre per home that we'll have. Obviously, streets take up some of it, but we are planning to have 25 feet between each home, and obviously pending surveys and topography.
It says 20 here, Brian. Is that
Is
just
it
20?
It is 20. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Nico.
Okay.
Yep.
Any glasses bigger?
Just
Can't
wanted to
read
make sure I was
anything.
reading
There
this.
might be
So
some that
hard
are
to
30. There might be some that are 18. I'm not sure.
So hard to read. Okay. Okay.
What do you see as your timeline in terms of construction and?
Yeah, so we have this as a 5-year project, start to completion, and our absorption rate is somewhere in the 42 to 45 month period. So I mean that's based off similar projects and what we know about the market. We've been in contact with several realtors in the area and picked their brain of what the demand is out there, and that's kind of what we came up with. We think that's a safe bet.
So Phil, what portion is it the experience as far as the development that you're bringing to the group?
Yeah, I'm not from Woodbridge.
Mhm.
Brian is. I've known him for a while, and we bring a lot of experience when it comes to construction, finance, equity, development, the like. This is it's a beautiful project. It's not an awfully complicated one. We've done far more complicated builds than this, but certainly have done stuff like it. So,
Just out of curiosity, what is it? What that makes it simple versus complicated? Because I have no.
well, we just finished a $130 million cancer center for Yale, which was 240,000 feet on 3 acres. A pretty complicated construction. It's in Trumbull, Connecticut, on Park Avenue.
Right off the Park
I
Avenue.
know exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the former Golf Digest building. It's the Smilo Cancer
Yep.
Center. So that was complicated because we had very complicated construction, a lot of development on a very small site, a parking garage. This is effectively single-family homes that are going to be 55 and older. They're not large, 2,000 to 2,300 square feet. Pretty straightforward. I think the key to this project is getting a look that is, acceptable to the town and the community, satisfies the neighbors as a streetscape, and one that's gonna, you know, stand the test of time and last.
I'm just curious about the wetlands.
What are you curious about?
And again, Joe, this is all pending, you know, obviously a survey, and I actually, I'm going to go back because I could be wrong. I did not think that there was actual wetlands there. I thought, yeah, obviously there's that little pond.
I
but
say wetlands, I understand
Sure.
the distinction, but there's definitely a pond.
There's definitely a pond, and that it was taken into consideration. Obviously, you see in the original plan. I apologize. That was a drafting error. We didn't take it out. But we will address it. I mean, if we have to reroute, you know, some of the homes around it, we have plenty of room to do so.
Some room, yeah, just.
Yep.
Joe, we anticipate obviously going through all the town boards.
Yeah, of course.
Planning, zoning, inland wetlands, whatever else you
No, I
have.
understand, I just, you know, we don't wanna go too far down the road in approval stages and when we have
Absolutely.
a situation that we kinda know exists. I don't know the implication of it totally, but
Okay.
I know it's there, so.
Just from an experience standpoint, in the scenarios like Joe's describing, if we do go down the road and it turns out that you hit something more than what you anticipated, there's ledge, whatever the case may be, how do you mitigate that? How do you get around that at that point?
Well, I mean, our purchase proposal is based on building 120 units, you know, in what we'll generally describe as the eastern portion of the golf course. I don't think, I think we need to do surveys, geotech reports, topography, all the kind of due diligence work we need to do to lay out the development. I know there's gonna be things that we're gonna find that we don't know today, because that's just the nature of development. And like we always do, we react to them at the time and we make adjustments. And we may lose a unit or two, we may have to shift the units around. It's just all part of the, you know, coming up with a site plan process.
Oh, that's what I got.
If we lost half, that would be a problem. We would
Sure.
be able to make that. If we lost a couple, it's not gonna be that big a deal.
So if you're on the north end of that, right, the north,
Mhm.
you have room, that's, I don't know, it starts to come up the hill, but it's all basically at one level down there for a while.
Correct.
Theoretically, I suppose you could shift it west if the wetlands were a problem.
Exactly.
And kinda,
Exactly.
See, I'm not seeing that only because there's that big slope. That's where, I thought that's where the rock was, a big slope on the first hole.
to the east. I'm
To the
talking
east.
swinging it west,
Oh,
away from the pond. The pond's
Oh,
on
to
the
the left
east
instead
side.
of right.
Are you
Yeah,
saying
let's
to
use
this
left
side
and
on the
right.
map, on this map, or in real life?
Well, the ledge is on the right side on that.
Correct.
See
The back side
So-
of the right houses is basically the ledge.
The ledge.
Right house.
So you
Okay.
could swing the bottom, you could swing that northern portion left is what I'm saying.
If we
Away-
need to.
if-
Correct.
I mean, just
Correct.
theoretically away
Correct.
from
Yeah, I mean, that's
and,
one of
and
the
still
nice,
be on the same plane more or less.
that's one of the nice things about this potential development, that you've got much more land there than we're gonna be using, and I think everybody agrees we wanna try to keep a nice, big, open park area, but if the development has to move a little bit just to have setbacks from wetlands or, you know, adjust from ledge, there's room to do it there.
Questions, Joe?
We'll talk about it.
Okay, Mika? Mika? any
But,
other-
yeah, no, I'm just thinking, it said 5-year project, 120, 660 units a year?
No, 30,
60,
30
I'm doing the math there.
just,
30 units, 30 units, I'm sorry.
20 something, I think it was.
Okay.
120, right?
120
Total.
total units.
Yeah.
120 total, it'd be nice to do 20 to 30 a year, and then, again, it depends on your absorption and your sales rates. If we could do more, we clearly would.
Could be longer, so anywhere from
Yeah,
5 to 8
the-
years.
8 years,
It's
I agree.
basically the same.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's hard to predict markets beyond a year or two.
Are the homes that you mentioned on in your Trumbull, are they, if we were to see those homes, are they comparable to what you're proposing in this case?
I don't think exactly. I mean, they are age restricted. There are some condominium style homes and townhomes that you've seen. We've also done some more upscale freestanding homes when we took over the Tashua Tree Farm and built that out. But again,
Which would you say are most comparable to what you would be doing here? What specifically you would be doing here?
I would probably say the Village of Twin Brooks in Trumbull, Connecticut.
And Mika, also, 17 years of being in business myself, my main business was custom residential homes. So, in addition to his experience on the commercial side and also on the residential side, for 17 years I've been building custom, Lower Fairfield County homes for the last 17 years. So,
Thank you. Good.
Okay, we're questioned out. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Now what, right, Joe? Now, yeah, for a little bit, I'm sorry. At this part, due to negotiations, we're gonna ask you to, we're gonna go into executive session regarding proposals for the former country club, sections Connecticut General Statutes 1-206D. And then following that, thank you, good night. We're gonna return to public session for discussion, and we're gonna set the date for the public information session and the Board of Selectmen special meeting.
So I'll make a motion, we go into executive session pursuant to CGS 1-206D, negotiations regarding proposals for the former country club of Woodbridge.
And we'll invite Attorney Weiner and
Attorney Weiner,
Finance Director
Tony
Genovese.
Genovese.
I'll second.
Thank
All in
you.
favor?
Joe
All in
did.
favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. I'm okay? Thank you. I like the thumbs up. That helps me. During executive session, we discussed negotiations. No motions were made nor votes taken. We will continue negotiations with a goal of having further details available to the public prior to a public information session, which I discussed in the beginning of the meeting. We're going to ask for the 2 PowerPoint presentations to be put up on the website tomorrow. I won't be here because my brother's having surgery, so if you could get those, Jerry. And we will put those up on the website. We're going to post it to the town's Facebook page, and we will also get a message into the town newsletter that mails to every household later this week, I hope. Now I would ask that the board discuss a date, try to set a date for the public information session so that the public may have the opportunity to see the 2 presentations and have an opportunity to ask any and all questions they may have. We will all be there at that meeting, but I think it's good that the public has an opportunity to do this. So we threw out a date of December 17th at 7 p.m. Does that work for everyone? I checked with Terry. She couldn't make it tonight. She had something come up. Does that work? Monday, December 17th at 7 p.m. And Mrs. Shaw, I think we have the gym.
We can get the gym.
We can get the gym. Okay, so we'll let everyone know for sure about that. We'll get that up there, but we don't have to make a motion, do we, to do that? Set a public information session? We can do it if
you can make a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion that we set the date for the public information session for this for further just 2 presentations for Monday, December 17th at 7 p.m. in the Center Gym. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Immediately upon conclusion of that session, we're going to hold another special Board of Selectmen meeting, so the Selectmen may act, if we so choose, to set a date for a special town meeting and referendum. That's if everything goes as planned, and who knows? But I just want to get that out there. Is there anything else that anyone has to talk about? I'll make a motion, we adjourn. All in favor? Thank you. Thanks for hanging in with us, guys.